God knows he's done it countless times with the businesses that he's turned around. And to continue the football analogy, I'm a Philadelphia Eagles fan. I'm remembering about 4 or 5 seasons ago the big 4th and 24 play where they went for it on 4th and 24, and big long completion, ended up scoring a touchdown and winning the game, and so that's kind of a football analogy. And I think Kane is the kind of guy that would have not just the guts but the sense as well to realize if he has the kind of caliber players on the field that he needs, this is assuming being elected to the presidency or even getting the nomination for that matter, he has the sense to realize if he has the players on the field that are of a high enough caliber to make the 4th and 24 play a good call.
Right. Well, this was clearly the debt ceiling situation was clearly a risk of sorts because I think a lot of Republicans were concerned about being blamed for something. But this was really a good time. Part of me wanted to see Boehner or somebody step back and say, all right, you guys are just blowing smoke about this August 2 thing. You know what? We're not going to pass anything. We're not going to pass anything until 2012. Forget it. Now let's just see if this place falls apart, or let's see if the economy starts picking up because they see we're serious about spending. And I really wonder, what would have happened if they had taken that approach and called the bluff and said, quit the scare tactics. But no, they bought into that whole notion that the whole world was going to end if we did this. And we went through all that. Yes, we would pay our interest and we'd pay the Social Security checks and all of that, but we'd have some very difficult choices, but we would have all survived. And I think that that's the mistake that they made. They didn't want to risk that type of situation. Instead, they should have said, look, we're going to shut this place down unless we can get some real spending cuts, and not just 2, 3, 5, 10 years down the road. I think that's the type of gutsy type calls that we could have used from a Boehner or from others in Congress. And, we had some voices there, but they just weren't sufficient.
Right. Well, and that's the thing. Don't you think with the kind of landslide election, once in a couple of generations kind of election that we had last November, you would think that the Republicans would realize that they have the mandate from the American people to make those gutsy calls, to, as you said, call the bluff and say, okay, show us your cards then. And and that's the thing, to keep seeing this over and over again, that, well, we're afraid that we might take the blame for something. I mean, we've dealt with this from the GOP for years now, that, and I guess it goes back to 95. For some reason people have it stuck in their heads that because of the government shutdown in 95 and early 96, that the Republicans lost big in the 96 elections and they got the blame for the government shutdown. Nobody noticed the government shutdown, and if you actually look at the election results, the Republicans lost a few seats in the House and they actually picked up seats in the Senate. So how was
I agree with you.
A huge loss for the Republicans, but yet we still have this fear. And again, it's kind of that narrative hysteria on the Republican side too. We have these notions that have been proven false over and over again. The GOP paid dearly for the government shutdown, or Ross Perot cost Bush re-election. These kind of things that, if you look at the numbers, simply aren't so. But yet they're repeated over and over again, so people believe them, and, well, we can't do that because look where it got us last time. Well, yes, do that. Actually look at where it got you last time, because it's not what you heard. If you actually look at the numbers, it's completely different. But I guess we're getting close to the top of the hour here. Can you hang on with me for about 10 more minutes? I kind of wanted to talk about sacred cows a little bit.
Sure, not a problem.
Okay, great. All right, you're listening to the Sons of Liberty show here on the CB Media Network, talking to Dr. John Parnell. He is the William Henry Belk Chair of the Management School of Business Administration at UNC Pembroke, and also author of the blog site, battleforliberty.com. That's battle4liberty.com. and you're listening to the Sons of Liberty Show. We'll be right back on the other side of this. Stay tuned.
Internet Talk Radio. Socialism is not an option.
Let's get together this weekend. Hello, I'm Tesla, host and producer of Socialism is Not an Option, featuring 3 great live talk radio shows. On Friday at 9 p.m. Eastern is the Roundtable Roundup edition. Radio hosts and their listeners are invited to participate in this sometimes lighthearted look at the week's past events. On Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern is the American Exceptionalism Edition, dealing with the U.S. Constitution, a show for every American patriot who wants to learn more about this great nation. And on Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern, wrap up the weekend with our ever-popular Hot Topic edition. The controversial issues of our times are tackled with insightful analysis and provocative disclosures as we battle the corrupting influences of socialism in our country. Spend your weekends with Socialism is Not an Option.
Are you looking for in-your-face conservative talk radio? Well, you found it. Our hosts are on 7 days a week to bring you an unflinching look at the state of affairs in American politics and world events. Listen in as we give you our own brand of smash-mouth conservative talk radio. Just go to www.blogtalkradio.com/CBmedia-network every night at 10 p.m. Eastern. Let's jam.
I had Chinese tonight. This was my fortune cookie. You're going to love this. You shouldn't overspend at the moment. Frugality is important. So I think I got President Obama's fortune cookie tonight.
I don't know, but anyway, that was a high-risk question because I asked without any clue as to what the answer would be.
You're a good sport.
All right, that's high risk. All right, so we know you had Chinese food. We know about that.
But
so
isn't that perfect? You shouldn't overspend at the moment. Frugality is important.
Do you have too bad you didn't have about 600 of those so we could have the House, the Senate, and
this is going to the White House, and I'll reprint it and I'll send it to Harry Reid too.
All right, good. I'm sure they'll be delighted to hear from you because they seem to like to hear from you a lot anyway.
I think they do.
Just a nice guy performing a valuable public service. Pissing on flaming liberals.
All right, and we are back here on the Sons of Liberty show. Thank you for joining in and hanging around this evening, talking to Dr. John Parnell, the William Henry Belk Chair of the Management School of Business Administration at UNC Pembroke in North Carolina, and also author. Man, I did it again. I'm a professional broadcaster, damn it. Anyway, also author of the blog site battle4liberty.com. It's battle4liberty.com. I encourage you to read it every chance you get. Bunch of great posts there. The top one there right now is about Happy Meals, and it's, again, Dr. Parnell just has a great way of breaking things down and kind of I don't know, just kind of making it easy for the non-policy wonk to understand sort of what's going on. And I like some of the comments there as well. You're being attacked as a paranoid guy. So I kind of like that. But anyway, I wanted to talk a little bit about sacred cows. You know, we're talking about raising the debt ceiling, so we've effectively just given President Obama the chance to raise spending another $2.4 trillion, which takes us to, let's see, debt to GDP ratio up over 100% now. Great. You know, we're not following in Greece's footsteps at all. But, you know, I think it's...
So we're actually going faster than Greece now. But
exactly. Yeah, we're slipping in the grease. Somebody greased the slide. So... God, the puns just write themselves. Anyway, but I think, you know, we want to talk so much about, well, we averted disaster and, you know, these spending cuts, well, what was it? Oh, yes, the caucus instructed me to say extreme, you know, those kind of cuts. And we constantly hear this from both sides, you know. It's like, oh, we can't possibly cut that. We can't possibly cut that. And I just, for some reason, I keep going back to the Depression of 1920 and how Warren Harding and Calvin Coolidge came in 1921, and between January of 1921 and December of 1922, the federal budget was cut in half, and taxes were lowered at the same time. And the 8 years that followed were called, what? The Roaring Twenties.
Roaring 20s.
How can we have that in our not-so-distant past and not look back at that and say, well, wait a minute, we cut federal spending by 50% in 2 years and nobody died?
Yeah, and that's a great example. You know, the Democrats have their sacred cows, but the Republicans have some too. Defense is one of them. I think that we can revisit defense. I know that's a totally separate topic, getting into Iraq and Afghanistan and all of that. I don't know what we're doing in Tripoli, but the whole point is that we can reassess what we're spending while we're protecting different parts of the world, while we're in Europe and in Korea, and we can look at that budget as well, and we should. And
don't forget about the SEAL teams in Djibouti right now. But
absolutely,
anyway.
Absolutely, we get so much that we're doing right now that again, on both sides we can cut. In fact, they talk about how we're going to have this cut across the board if this committee doesn't agree on something, and that's going to be tumultuous. Well, really? Why would that be? Why don't we just? I mean, I could live with just a 10%, 20% across the board. Just take it out of every budget. If you don't know what to do, I could live with that. Just to start.
Well, that's the thing, though. When you start talking about across-the-board cuts, you have to pay close attention to which party is talking about across-the-board cuts, and that's the direction the board is slanted in. So,
right.
But you know, the thing is, we talk about, well, you know, these are the things we can't touch. There's so many sacred cows all the way around, both sides of the aisle. I completely agree. Defense for the GOP has been, you know, the holy grail. We can't possibly touch that. Are you kidding me? When we have the Air Force spending $750 for a freaking hammer, I think we can make some cuts somewhere. You know, you can get specialty hammers. You know, maybe it's for a specific job in a specific place, so it has to be made to these exacting standards. Fine, it's not $750. It's a freaking hammer. You know, we can make cuts. And the thing is, the sacred cows, I think the only sacred cows that there should be are the ones that are in Article 1, Section 8. You know, And the rest of them, let's not just cut them, let's slaughter them.
Absolutely, and I think that's the key. I mean, we have to look at what the federal government